So take it away, Dr. Wanda.
We can go ahead and get started. Again, welcome everyone. We're delighted to have you here joining us today. My team and I are certified coaches for Flourishing Workplace, and we represent a company that believes in cultivating and supporting organizations and their employees in mental health and psychosocial well-being, which I know is definitely Sue's passion. My name is Dr. Wanda Walker. I'm a certified leadership and relationship coach, and I've spent 35 years with the federal government as a senior executive. And currently, I'm CEO and of Dr. Wanda Walker LLC, which is a coaching firm. I assist individuals and teams to lead with clarity, connect with purpose, and thrive relationally, both personally and professionally. I'm one of the vice presidents of Flourishing USA, Flourishing Workplace, and we're truly delighted to have you here. In absentia, I'd like to acknowledge our CEO and founder of Flourishing Workplace, which is Abe Brown. Abe is the coach's coach. He has trained over 8,000 coaches in over 30 years of his experience. He's an international speaker and author and visionary of the Flourishing Coaching Training and modules. And I'd like to ask the rest of the team, to everyone's hearing, to actually introduce yourself.
Sure, I'll go. I'm Sherry Buckley Brown. I'm from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I have been in corporate a couple of decades in IT and in management. I'm also a certified flourishing coach. What I specialize in is I work with individuals and groups to help them understand their why. And I consider myself a breakthrough strategist. And so I'm really excited to be here with you guys to share our story. Welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you, team. Thank you, Dr. Wanda and Sherry. My name is Cynthia Chow Huang. I'm here from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I am the Director of Business Development for Flourishing. And just super excited to have you here because our main goal is to support you by giving you some value and then continue the conversation afterwards because psychological safety, it's not like a one-time deal, right? It's an ongoing thing. So definitely love to connect with you after and excited to hear Dr. Wanda's share today.
Well, thank you, Cynthia. I know that, as far as bits and pieces have been shared as far as among you, but if anyone would like to introduce themselves that may have come on later, um, I see Mayan is on the screen. Anyone else that might want to share as far as
Um, yeah, I'm one of the leaders here in Cambridge, Manila. But I'm not that high of a level yet. But I'm really appreciative of the offers in the Cambridge Connect, and I've come into the training. Uh, in a way, it's my first training outside Cambridge, so I'm excited to have this opportunity and learn from the different folks outside the organization. So I'm really excited knowing that we have different types and ages um, of teammates and colleagues in Cambridge. This types of learnings and development as a leader is appreciated, and I would also want to have a first-hand experience so that I can also what you call it endorse these types of learnings to my colleagues. So I'm pretty happy and excited to be here.
I
Thank
love
you.
that. I love that. You're carrying the flag. I love it. All right, let's
Yes.
just go ahead and get into our topic. Okay, Leadership 101. I believe it's 101 because it's fundamental, for me at least, creating that psychological safety in the workplace. We know that the best work can be done by those who definitely are not tipping around on eggshells. Okay, so first let's actually look at what is psychological safety. It sounds like a really good term. As far as the psychological portion, we realize it's emotionally and mentally, evolving the emotional and the mental. But it's actually being in a place where you feel that you can take risks, and that's expressing any speaking as far as your ideas, your concerns, and mistakes. And it can be done so in an environment where there's no fear of any negative consequences like a punishment or humiliation or blame. realizing that your ideas are personal to yourself. So when someone actually embraces them, it makes you feel good. Or having any concerns may feel neutral, but you should feel comfortable in actually expressing those. Psychological safety is a culture that's actually created in an organization where people do feel safe to speak up, take risks. And I like to say that they, even with, it might not be a very innovative idea or whatever, but they'll fail forward. As stated by Dr. Amy Edmondson, it isn't about being nice, it's about being truly real, but without fear. That's one in which the nicety, it's not the pleasantries of the morning, good morning, those are all human factors, but psychological safety goes a lot deeper than that. Neuroscience teaches us that in the instance where you actually have fear that's activated, the amygdala actually is activated also. And that's where it actually increases. So it boasts, the capacity where you're not in a mode to learn, you're not in a mode to be innovative, and you're not in a mode to trust. So we definitely want to keep it in a place where that fear center of your brain, the amygdala, is not in that place where it's not in a positive mode. Okay, psychological safety. Why does it matter? It's both, I believe, for the employee and the employer. The employee, that's where you spend a substantial portion of your day, 8, 9, 10 hours. Even if you're virtual, it's still you're engaged with the workplace, but you should feel safe without question. For the employer, it matters because your staff, 75% increase are engaged with one another with psychological safety. That means your collaboration actually soars. Your loyalty to the organization actually soars. You find that you have less sick days. When you wake up in the morning, you vote. Should I go to work or shouldn't I go to work? In that instance, they found less sick days, and if you are an engaged employee. Also, your staff is 50% more productive. Their juices are truly flowing. They're actually interacting. They're feeling that, they're engaged with the work that they're doing, the production that they're doing. What they're doing actually matters. So it increases that productivity. Also, your staff is 67% more likely to innovate. All of those good juices coming up, things which are cutting edge actually will start to come forward. And they're more likely even to share those innovative ideas. Remembering if they feel that they're in that safe place, you can have a brilliant idea and it never actually makes the table. It doesn't become an option, that even the company can actually select from if they're feeling that it's going to be at risk or a detriment to them. So those innovative ideas not only flow, actually are created, but they actually flow. Google's Project Aristotle named psychological safety as the #1 factor in high performing teams. So, as we like to say, safe brains are smart brains. Okay, unsafe environment triggers. This is a place where we're not in that psychological safety. And this is either the psychological safety has not been created or an unsafe environment is actually being tolerated. Your brain engages in unproductive manner because of that fear zone. It gets hijacked as far as its thoughts and its actions, and it evokes a fight, flight, freeze mode. And none of those are productive as far as your mental, emotional, or physical health, nor is it productive as far as your work. Production in this instance where you're in a fight, fright, or freeze mode, production to your thinking shuts down. Your mind really becomes hyper focused on the presumed threat that actually you're, seeing as being there. So as far as your work, that gets pushed to the back of the table. The threat then becomes what you're actually focused on. Collaboration. Collaboration, of course, is going to shut down. You're in a mode where you're not trusting people. So because you aren't sure where and who you can trust, you shut down. Blame thrives. it becomes a thing of, why did I do that? Or why did they do that to me? Or why did they do that at all? Needless to say, no one blooms in a minefield. When you feel that, things that you may say or things that you may do are not going to be appreciated, and even, they actually may be reprimanded for it, your mind's not there. It's disengaged. So we like to say that, safety is soil. You plant really good things in good soil, get good things out of it. And in that safe soil, you can actually find that honesty, ownership, and creativity can be cultivated. I don't know about you, but for me, honesty and ownership and creativity sounds a lot better than fight, fright, and freeze. What about you? Okay, I'm getting some head nods there. Okay, when you walk in a room for a really productive meeting, and you're thinking to yourself, this is going to be a great meeting. You've prepared beforehand. You've got your information ready. You're all thinking, man, I can't wait until we can start exchanging some of these ideas. Those positive feelings are created by a psychologically safe leader. There are at least 4 key behaviors that a leader of this type of nature can exhibit. 1, listen to understand. That leader will listen to understand. They won't be there thinking about, what am I going to say next? They're actually listening to the points that you're making and as it's going forward. I don't mean any harm, but I've actually had some conversations, in which I'm thinking, man, I got another point, hold on to this. And I'm thinking about that point. What's the best way to express it? Okay, needless to say, my active listening is not present at that particular time. But hopefully we err on the side of, listening to understand more. Okay, they model vulnerability. These are really powerful words for a leader. I don't know, or it's okay. If someone tells about a mistake they made, an error that they made, to say it's okay, it's empowering. It's vulnerable for the leader at any point to say they don't know. Because as a leader, we know that leaders know everything. Yeah, right. Of course not. But to actually be able to say it to a group of individuals, I don't know, that's empowering. It actually removes, the vulnerability for the leader, instills it for the leader, but it lets your staff model that same behavior, and that it's okay for them to say, I don't know. Third, reward candor, not just correctness. It's in a time that you might have a subordinate tell you, I don't think that's correct. How awesome can that be? You're the type of leader that actually they feel comfortable enough, safe enough to be able to say, I don't think that's right. Remembering that the room is full of experts. They're experts in the particular field that they're actually speaking to you in. They probably do know more than you. You may have misspoken. But in order to have that clear communication, we often have an employee actually say to you, I don't think that's correct, or I don't think that's what we've decided previously. And being the type of leader that you are, you'll say, well, let's pull up last meeting's notes and check it out. So it's just you being able to push forward, and it's productive. Fourth, stay calm. When you receive feedback, okay, stay calm. It's not directed to your person, it's directed to the product, it's directed to the process that you're working on. So it's not an attack on your person. You can see how this would be a psychologically safe leader in listening to understand, modeling vulnerability, rewarding candor, and staying calm. This is what we call a brain boast. Okay, oxytocin actually rises in people when they feel that they're being heard and they're being supported. Okay, this is a good one. Has anybody besides me said something in a meeting that you wish you hadn't? Any hand raise? Okay. Yeah, I think we all have. Okay, so we're going to do the say this, not that. Okay, instead of saying, whose fault is this? That's not good. What we could try is, what can we learn from this? You can see that doesn't push anybody back on their heels. They're actually in a place where we're not trying to assess blame. We're trying to move the project or the process forward. When you push people back on their heels, it psychologically causes them to disengage. Now that we're not doing anything productive. Okay, here's a second one. That won't work. How about trying something a little bit more positive? Wonder what would make that work. Now we've opened it up to the floor for people to come forward as far as to actually interchange ideas with you. It allows suggestions to become a stepping stone. For the one that comes forward, we can buff and polish that idea, and then we can move on. Okay, it also lessens the defeat of having only one solution. When you're in a place where you're brainstorming, you want as many ideas to come forward so we can actually feel that we've dumped it all on the table. And now, from everything that we've dumped on the table, we can actually make a selection as far as what we'll work forward from. Third, here's another example. Okay, where you're in a brainstorming session. Remember, this is a brainstorming session, and there's total silence. What can you say? Okay, we're going to invite people to actually, speak to us or open up. So we could say, what are we not saying that needs to be said? Okay, that's just opening the floor up for conversation. Or what are we not seeing that needs to be seen? It's saying, I'm drawing you forward. I'm actually depending on you as far as your knowledge, your expert. Please, please, please give me ideas. This is a brain tip. Okay. The brain can't problem solve when defending itself. So you never want to push anyone to a place where blame is going to be there or they're feeling that their ideas are not going to be valued. Okay, there are times, this is a micro moments of safety. These are little times that in the hallways, when you engage your employees, things that you could do. Remember names. I had 1,400 staff. Needless to say, I didn't remember every name, but I tried as they gave me tidbits and walking up and down the hallway about family or places they had visited, or it may be currently something they had on. But you have to be genuine in those things. People can tell when you're actually just, nice hairdo and they're bald. Okay. It's just like, okay, I needed something to say. And so I'm saying something off the cuff. And in that instance where you're doing that, you're actually losing, the psychological safety of the person rather than actually increasing it. We can ask questions with honest curiosity. It's kind of like I was just saying there. We can thank people for a job that's well done. That's just music to their ears, believe it or not. 69% of employees say they would work harder if given any type of positive acknowledgments. And this is always big, and you'll probably see this more, is as far as a leader, own your mistakes. You mess it up, go ahead and please state it often for everyone to hear. If it's a mistake that as many people that could possibly have seen the mistake or heard about it, which probably means your entire organization, make sure it's communicated that well. Shouldn't be a one-on-one, oops, communicate that. Okay, we have to remember that this type of micro moments has to be one that's actually with consistency. It's not a one and done, as Cynthia was saying in the beginning. This is something that becomes part of your culture. Okay, let's talk about the not so good, a toxic workplace. Those are the ones that wouldn't have all those positive things going on. I love this with the face mask, on, and that poor plant is dying. I can only imagine what the environment would look like there. Only 49% of employees say a great deal of trust with their employers. Isn't that horrible? That's, one out of two. You really want to have, great trust as far as with your employees. 69% of employees say they are burnt out from their current job, and 31% report having high levels of work stress. Burnt out and stressed out, that doesn't sound like a safe environment to me. 58% of employees have left a job or would consider leaving if they found they had a negative culture. A negative culture does not feel safe. What elements create a toxic workplace? We need to identify the elements that actually create a toxic workplace before we can actually address them. So that's what we're going to go through now. Okay, a toxic workplace. In the instances where your employees are not feeling seen, you might have 50 people and there's no type of either greeting that's part of it in the morning, any type of praise or thank you, or if anything, you have a good job that's done, total silence. You have a not so good job that's done, nothing, or even worse than that, a reprimand. Okay, but there's no positive exchanges. So what would be the cure for this? The solution is acknowledgement. Let's see people. Okay, another attribute or element to a toxic workplace, not feeling heard. A company had a study would say to 82% of the team had ideas that they could believe would actually help them accomplish their goal. But only in 1/3 of those companies did they actually ever ask. And on the opposite side of that, you can give survey fatigue, and which I'm a big advocate on not doing that. At the time, I was an executive of human capital for my organization. We had 8,000 people, and they had surveyed them. The survey data was communicated, and nothing was done. That the worst thing in the world you can do is ask for people's input and do nothing with it. Even in the instance where you could say it's something that was not possible or not at this time or whatever, but at least something that would close out the idea that you spent your time and energy actually taking this survey. So, we need to say something about it. For the leaders, psychologist Carl Rogers said, active listening is a difficult discipline. It requires intense concentration and attention to everything the person is conveying, both verbally and non-verbally. That's directed to the surveys. Everything that they're giving you it deserves a response back. So 64% of 675 professionals working in the US and Canada were polled, and they said leaders making decisions without input was one of the biggest problems. So it's really the people who have the boots on the ground, or they're really the ones who are in the front line, probably know the problems better and more specific, are the ones that are not being asked, what is the problem? So the solution to not being heard, of course, is listening. Let's hear our people. Okay, a third element is not feeling understood. We possibly contribute to the mental and physical well-being of others when we take time to understand them and to take time to be empathetic. That goes towards not just culturally how they may differ to us, but just coming in, after someone's had either a death in their family or, something not pleasant happen, to understand that the person may not be on all, hitting on all 6 cylinders, is 8 cylinders. I guess it depends on what kind of car you have, but they're not hitting on all their cylinders, okay? It's understandable, for them to come back in and you're like, well, if they work at 100%, then we'll be able to finish this goal right on time, even though they've been out for 2 weeks. Good luck on that one. The person's now not any more engaged than they were before. In fact, they're really thinking about, I don't know why I work here. So a 2008 study examined why the people feel happier and healthier when they perceive themselves as being understood in their daily social interactions. And of course, not surprisingly, people report that greater life satisfaction and fewer physical symptoms on days when they felt more understood by others. That's a give me. So in the instance where people are not feeling understood, what's the solution? Empathy. It costs nothing. Let's understand our people. And lastly, our fourth element, not experiencing clarity. This is a good one. Brene Brown says, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. Because of poor communication or no communication, your staff believes that you operate on a whim rather than strategically. They'll follow you with that flag if they know that you have a plan. They won't follow you with that flag if they're thinking you're operating under a whim. Okay. No safety is creating in those instances. So in the instance of a lack of clarity, what's the solution? Operate with transparency. Let's be clear. Toxic workplace leads to a lack of, toxic workplace believes comes from a lack of leadership development. When your leaders lack the necessary or don't feeling equipped, okay, they can't be their best selves. The solution is to train our leaders. 52% of respondents in a recent survey said that leadership development has the greatest impact on improving an organization's culture. That means if you want the culture of your organization to actually be buffed and polished, then you should be buff and polishing your leaders. So it's a matter of training in what? All the things we just finished talking about. As you can see on the right-hand side of the slide, when employees are feeling unseen, unheard, not understood, or experiencing a lack of clarity, you want to apply liberally what is on the left-hand side in the wheel. You want to have acknowledgement. You want to have active listening. You want to have empathy. You want to have transparency. I have a question now. I've been talking for a while here. Let's make this a little bit more practical. When you look at the wheel that's on the left-hand side of here, which do you think that you could actually work on today to impact the psychological safety of your organization? If you had to pick one, and we're not going to tell anybody, you don't have to stick to it later, but which do you think you could actually impact today as far as creating any type of psychological safety in your organization? Not a rhetorical question. I'm actually asking you to talk to me.
Hello there. Transparency is probably another one. Just in terms of and I would say that it would always be kind of without consciously being anything but transparent, but the idea that clarity comes from kind of fully fledged design and ideas, and there's obviously periods of transition that can be particularly difficult. And in those periods, it's not always easy to see the wood through the trees, or for the trees, not sure exactly what the idiom is. And so that's one of those things that I think definitely could be something to work upon. And I speak as kind of as a manager, but also previously not a manager, and it's clear that that's something that can absolutely be improved, I think, where I'm working now, but probably in a lot of places, to be honest with you.
Thank you, Joseph. I love that. And in the instance where there is an upheaval, when there is transition, people need to feel that they're actually still standing on the firm rock. Even if that rock is, remember we talked about it, a manager saying, I don't know. What are your next steps? Well, we think, or we're working on, but the silence they actually create in their head, what could possibly be out there. And it's always going to be worse than what it is. Anyone else? Psychological safety today, which one could you point to?
For me, it's acknowledgement. I think that's very important because, and genuine acknowledgement, right? Like you said, not just about your hair. If you got no hair, the person has no hair yet. Like, hey, I love how you showed up today with a smile. Like, thanks, you're doing a great job. Something like that.
I like that. I like that. Anyone else?
Sure, I can jump in. For me, it's listening, and it's not necessarily listening to what people are saying. It's being in tune and listening to what people aren't saying. And that's, I guess, one of the things that I kind of, my own personal bias is if I don't hear any bad news, I'm assuming there is no bad news, as opposed to listening to what's not being said, what's not being communicated, and just being more in tune with that piece of it.
I love that, Sue. Sometimes I call it listening to a person's heart. It's like the in between the period and the next sentence, there's something else that's in there. And also listening to the nonverbals, the person's posture, changing behaviors and stuff like that. All of it wraps up into being something that we need to be watchful and mindful of. Anyone else?
For
Okay.
me, sorry, for me,
Go
it's
ahead, Mark.
about transparency, this knowing that there are directions and there are changes in how we conduct like ratings, or especially now that it's mid-year. So the transparency in ensuring that the, the the colleagues are aware and ensure that they have input as well. It because this transparency would make them feel that they can give their input and they can be transparent on their side as well. So being transparent would be giving a role model in ensuring that you cultivate that type of um, fostering the safety and ensuring that they can be authentic and they can, they can be safe, they can be secure in their ideas, and they're being heard as well. So I think it's something that's critical all year round, definitely, but in times of impactful changes or impactful ratings, impactful times, that's very much appreciated by everyone, even for leaders as well.
I love that, Mayan. How people are being evaluated, assessed, any bonuses, promotions, all of that being put on the table as far as being transparent is very important. If people believe that they're all being treated like and they're all being treated fair, that goes a long way of creating safety and trust. Absolutely. Well, thank you all. The Flourishing Workplace, our company offers training modules and personal assessments that educate leaders and future leaders, those who are going to be wannabes. I just heard that Joseph got a promotion. Awesome. Love it. We have so many of these classes which go directly to these elements and other relevant areas to train leaders. The modules can be several hours, or it can be a half a day, it could be a single day, or it can actually be broken up to be individual modules over a period of weeks. They reinforce the skills that create a workplace culture that is conducive to psychological safety. Our company actually uses evidence-based training, scientific methods developed by our resident psychologist, Dr. Wayne Hammond, and our visionary, A. Brown, that I introduced to you in absentia from the beginning. And the facilitators for these are professionals with expertise in the relevant subject matters. So I'd like to open up just, saying that, we truly do believe that we want every workplace to be one that's stellar, where everyone truly does thrive. They're being their best. They're bringing their best to work. They belong. They have a sense that, wherever they are in the organization, they actually belong there. And definitely, whatever their work is, they're contributing. Everyone contributes well. In that instance, we believe that's a workplace that is stellar. We would love to be able to help your organization in any way as possible, but we like to have it so that everybody can bring their best self to the table and flourishing. And I'm now going to open it up to if anyone has any questions that they have that may have come from the presentation, seeking any clarification.
Sorry, I'll let Sue go first.
Thanks, Joseph. I was just wondering, you at the beginning of your presentation and throughout, you had a number of stats. I was just wondering where you're pulling those stats from. Is it your own internal research, or were you referencing some other research from other places?
It's both. It's actually, and that's one of the things I'd like to do as far as modifying my slides to actually include at this footnote where they've actually come from. So I thank you for that. And it's something that actually has been in the back of my mind also. But it's from personal research that's been done by Abe. And I'm sure Dr. Hammond also has come forward. Some of them I'm actually aware of as far as the survey data, because I do a lot of surveying myself and research myself. But I would, and thank you for the suggestion, would love to be able to put that as a footnote to the slides so everybody can be aware. Thank you.
Yeah, I know that Harvard Business Review has been doing a lot of research in this area and publishing a lot of stats. So I was just wondering if it was there or there's all of the other ones like Deloitte, and they're all putting out tons of stuff. So I was just wondering if you had a favorite source, but good to hear you're doing your own stuff and adding to that database. Thank you.
I'm trying to think of my pile that's over here. Harvard Business Review is on the top. So yeah, the first two are Harvard Business Review. The others go down to actual university work. So quite a bit. Thank you. There was another question.
Yeah, well, it was more just kind of feedback on a couple of the things that I found, very interesting. I think it's really nice to kind of hear some of the things that I think we are doing, but also that we kind of subconsciously do, and then actually it's good to take a step back from time to time. So things like framing of anything essentially, certainly in terms of questions, but the framing and how important that is in terms of kind of cultivating an environment that people feel, first of all, that they're just open to actually say how they're feeling and what they're having trouble with and what they're not, and talk about their successes and their failures. Again, that whole thing of, if I had £1 sterling for every time I've said, this is on me, I'd have £20 in the last month. I don't know. But the idea is like that. I think that's a really great thing to actually be putting forward as well. This idea of it is in the same way that, so I come from a teaching background and I taught for kind of, I don't know, 12, 13 years before moving into the company. And that idea of just modeling and in good and bad, but the idea of accepting my own errors and how do we go forward from this is obviously going to make people much more comfortable in a situation where inevitably human error happens. It does happen. The amount of processes that the people in my team are doing every single day, it is normal that some things will go awry. And I absolutely don't want my team to feel that they can't tell me or that they can't mention it, because absolutely we just pick it up and we learn from it, the failing forwards thing. So yeah, all really interesting stuff. So I just wanted to kind of put my my stamp on that for what it's worth, which is very little, but nonetheless, thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Appreciate it. Appreciate it so much. Anyone else? Okay, I thank you guys for listening. For next steps, we'd love to have a discovery session with you, for us to get to know you better and your company and whatever the needs may be, and for you to get to know us better and what we're actually able to provide for you. We work towards getting a detailed roadmap for you, and we don't just train and walk away. We actually would walk with you through implementation. I think Cynthia is going to put my contact information in there that you could book a time in the chat. And we actually would love for you to be able to look at our website, flourishingworkplace.com, for additional information, modules, classes, that you may be able to take a look at us even before you make the call. But please book a time with us. And we truly thank you for listening to us. And Sherry, my co-host, would you like to say anything in closing?
No, I would just say great information. Yeah, so this is so needed today. There's so much going on with AI and everything. So there's a lot of angst in the workplace. And so, yeah, these are good tips to take back to your team. Thank you for joining.
Cynthia, anything?
Great job, Dr. Wanda. Thank you so much. I felt so safe throughout this whole masterclass. And that's the key, right? So yeah, again, Sue, definitely please use that link to book a time for us to connect. And then for Joseph and Mayan and the rest of the team, feel free to click that link for Dr. Wanda's schedule. If you don't see a time that works, just let us know. You can find information on us at flourishingworkplace.com, and we'd love to connect with you. See how we can support. Again, this is not like a one-time thing where we're like, hey, we have our monthly master classes, so definitely keep an eye on that. Yet, how do we walk alongside you so that you don't feel like you're doing this alone? Because it can get lonely when you're in leadership roles and you feel like maybe there's not alignment, or there's people that might not understand. And we've been in so many different arenas, different platforms that we can relate, right? And if we don't haven't been in a same situation as you, at least we can walk together, right? And you don't have to do it alone. So absolutely reach out. Thank you so much, team. Thanks everyone for showing up.
You guys, take
That's
care.
great.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
See you
Take
soon.
care,
you.
everybody.
Appreciate it.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you.